different dogs are going to have different levels of motivation, period, right? So when we talk about motivation, we're talking about all these techniques that we use to improve and intensify motivation, to build it over time, to gain control of it, etc. And part of that is what we do mechanically, how we play with the dogs, how we set up the opportunities. And the other part of it's genetics, right? And genetics play a large role in dog training, right? It's frustrating to think like you can do everything just right and be the best dog trainer in the world, and you can't make an apple into an orange or vice versa, right? There's a dog that just doesn't have that as a part of their genetic makeup, right? And people get frustrated in those cases, but you can't. That's just not what the dog is. And so I like to say that the dog's range of possible skills or motivations or whatever that is defined genetically, and where they land in that range is defined by what we do, right? So one dog's range is from here to here, right? And if I do everything perfectly, the dog will be up here. And if I do everything poorly, the dog will be down here. Another dog's range is here, right? So if I did everything perfectly with this dog, the bottom part of this dog's range would be close to this dog's range. They'd be about the same. If I do everything well, this dog's way up here. Where they land in these ranges are what we do. The range itself is defined genetically, right? And there are just certain dogs that won't do a certain thing. My experience is my older dogs, and of course I'm keeping a very specific kind of dog at this stage in my life and career. I keep a dog for a reason, and specifically they get more motivated as they get older, right? And then they max out motivation level somewhere around 4 years old or something like that. But it doesn't go down at that point. And for the type of dog that I'm keeping, you have to stop. They'll kill themselves. My dogs will play until they die. So if I go out and throw a ball for them, they're going to chase it every time. They'll heat stroke. If you throw it 100th time, my old Menomonie female Fautois, she was arthritic in 14. Nobody can throw anything around because she'd go. She'd scream bloody murder if somebody threw something because it hurt like crazy, but she'd go out, grab the toy, come running back, punch it into you. Like it's an obsession, like it's a crazy, nutty, weird thing. Like I jokingly say that good working dogs, if they were humans, they'd be in therapy for obsessive compulsive disorder. They'd have counseling, right? For sure, right? And so what we do is say, okay, be obsessed about these things here, but not these things. So we channel their obsessions into productive things that we can use. But you have to be careful. There's a certain kind of dog that won't quit, right? And then there are other dogs, normal, well-adjusted dogs that don't need therapy, that yes, you have to be cognizant. If you play too long, or as they get older, they hurt and they're, and now they get tired easily, like they're like me, right? Sore and not the same amount of energy I used to have. And so at that point, yeah, they'll give up at some point and go like, okay, I'm done. I'm too long. It's our job to observe the dogs and stop before that. So that's going to happen to everybody. You're going to play too long, and the dog's going to want to quit or want to run off with a toy. You made your session too long. Note to self, in my training journal, I'm going like, oh yeah, played too long today, dog gave up. Signs that the dog was giving up were this. I could feel it ahead of time. They don't go from full intensity to nothing. There's a drop off. Where was the peak and where's the drop off starting before they decided to give up? Learn to recognize that and stop here, just before the peak or right at the peak, and not when they start to tailor off, or at least immediately after the peak, right? So you're like, oh, okay, I feel this the beginnings of you stopping. I'm going to stop. Now we'll end our session now. And that way you don't burn the dog out and make the dog start to go, right? And so a lot of that is just awareness and learning to kind of read your dog, right, in those sessions. The other thing is a lot of dogs, people have inadvertent tells that they're going to end a training session. People go like, my dog's clairvoyant. He knows when I'm going to end the session. He won't bring the ball back the last time. I've thrown it 20 times. He goes, brings it right back, brings it right back, brings it right back, and I'm going to quit the session on 21, and he doesn't bring it back. How does he know? Right? Well, because you do something, right? So you're throwing it, you're standing a certain way when you're going to throw it again, and then you stand up straight and look around for your leash. Smart dog goes, oh yeah. That means you've done it those last 5 times, so when you do that, that means we're about done. I'll stop out here with the ball, right? They're remarkably observant of our behavior, right? So we have to observe them to watch for signs that their intensity is flagging and that kind of thing. And then we also have to make sure that we don't tell them when things are ending. I have to behave the same so that they think every single time at this point.